Look who's here trying to knock everything off of mommy's table. Public humiliation, Tony. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So it's officially spring after March 20th, and that means for some reason we switch out our makeup preferences. So I sounded like I was making fun of that, but I actually do switch out my makeup preferences from season to season because I love the like light, airy kind of watercolor trends of spring usually. So today I'm gonna be talking about some spring eyeshadow palettes and sharing with y'all the only top five palettes that I own that I will be pulling out for spring. Today's video is extra exciting because it is a collab. I haven't done a collab in what feels like a really long time. So it is my second collaboration with Alejandra Lisette. Beautiful woman, beautiful person, wonderful channel, very entertaining. So she has a lot of actually Project Pan kind of content. She's a mom too of multiple children, so she really juggles her time and it's kind of entertaining to watch sometimes. Also, she's just an incredibly sweet person, one of my closest friends on this platform, so definitely check out Alejandra's channel. Her video will also be linked down below as well. And if you're not already subscribed to Alejandra, please subscribe to her as a personal favor to me. I cannot wait to see what Alejandra picks because she has perhaps an even purer love of eyeshadow than I do, and I know what she picks is going to be extremely picky because I told her she could only pick 5. Right from the get-go, I'm just going to show you the 5 palettes I'm talking about today. So I'll be going through each of these one by one, and as I'm talking about them, I'll also show you full arm swatches that I did with each of these. Before I start, let me just talk about what spring palettes are to me. So when I think of spring, obviously I think of pastels, essentially like Easter colors, you know, the pastel sky blues and light pinks and light yellows and lilacs and that kind of thing. But in addition to whatever calls upon your mind from Easter, I also include greens in my like spring imagery. So with that being said, let me introduce my first palette, which is perhaps the most springy of my 5 picks, and this is the BH Cosmetics Lost in Los Angeles palette. I got this at the top of January of 2021, and I've just been waiting for March and April to whip this out and use this more, and I have been using it a lot. When I first got this, I did of course make a full live swatch video with it, which will be linked in the cards, but here are just the swatches of all of the shades across my arm. Oh, these literally look like the colored plastic Easter eggs that you hide. Even, you know, besides all of these wonderful pastel mattes, which work amazingly by the way for the kinds of colors they are, the metallics in this palette are that really like thick, rich, creamy metallic, which usually I prefer over like light, super hyper glittery metallics. I've been reaching into this palette pretty frequently, but I haven't been doing any kind of crazy looks or anything. What I usually do is just take this color Runyon Canyon, which is a pretty typical transition shade, run that all over my lid as a base, and then on the inner and center parts of my lid, just tap the hills everywhere, and that's it. That's my entire eye look. So that's how I've been using it, but in this spring of 2021, I'm excited to use the rest of this palette to its fullest range. The next palette is one that many of y'all may already have because it's pretty old. It came out in 2019, and this is the Huda Beauty Nude Obsessions palette in the shade Light. And so here is that beautiful, light, airy, springy, magical, fairy, pretty princess color story that's packed within just 9 shades. Here are swatches of all 9 shades of the Huda Beauty Nude Obsessions Light palette. Oh, all together, so cute! It's really light, pretty, pink, and girly. This is not gonna work for you if you have maybe even a medium skin tone. So yeah, this really is only for light skin tones, unfortunately. But if you are in the light range, these colors show up as like the softest, beautiful whisper. I often use this for like the purple, the lavender shade here. It's gonna be very similar to one of my other palettes, which I'll talk about later. There's some overlap there, I will admit, but these are different enough to where I wanted to include both of them. So the Huda Beauty palette is $29, I think now. It may have gone up in price, but I still recommend this one, and I would buy it again if I lost it. This may look like a typical like pretty palette in terms of the colors that are included, but a lot of them are actually kind of unique for my collection. Like this kind of dusty mauve-y lilac purple, like that kind of undertone of purple that's pink but still really dusty, is something I don't have a lot of. In the springtime especially, but maybe also just my makeup preferences now, I've been loving that like airy, really blown out, soft, light kind of eyeshadow look, like Exhibit A on my eyes today. I didn't use this palette, I'll tell you which one I used later, but this kind of palette gives me that kind of look. And so this is one I'm going to be using a lot. I've already been using it since this month began. Palette number 3 is the one that I am wearing on my eyes today. This is the Kaleidos Lunar Lavender palette. I know that this palette may not scream spring for a lot of people, mainly just that that lilac shade is what really makes it pastel-y and stuff. But as you can see on my eyes, it gives me that little blown out look that I really go for in this season. Here are swatches of all 6 shades in the Kaleidos Lunar Lavender palette. And as you can see, like, you can go kind of dark with this if you want to. You can go kind of spacey and funky, or you can just stay light and airy like I did today. The mattes are incredibly silky soft in terms of their texture, and the shimmers are the ones that have more suspended glitter particles. So they're a little bit drier to the touch and don't have as much base pigment. So to get a full-on swatch like these, I needed to build them up a few times. So today I just used this one kind of mauve-ish transition all over the lid. And with my finger, actually, I pat on this lilac shade and then tapped with my pinky finger this lighter shimmer on my inner corner. And that was it. That was it for this one. Well, this palette does have one weakness for me, and that is that even though these 2 purple mattes look very different in the pan, on the eye, they don't look as different as you may think. So that is one con for this palette. Another con is just the Kaleidos shipping takes a really long time sometimes, but I actually bought this off a reseller on Mercari, so you can always look for like other sources of Kaleidos if you don't want to deal with the international shipping and all that stuff. But otherwise, I kind of just wanted to show what this palette can do on the eyes and how airy it can be, so that's why I picked it among my 5 palettes to wear on my eyes today. Okay, palette number 4, maybe a little bit of a wild card, and I also feel kind of bad including this one because it's so damn expensive, but it's the Pat McGrath Mothership Sublime, Mothership 8 Divine Rose 2 palette. So here she is. Wow. And this one is more of like the bold spring colors. It's not light and airy and pastel like the other picks that I've included. This one really gives you that richness and that depth. Here are the swatches of the Pat McGrath Divine Rose 2 eyeshadow palette. I got this back in February and I did make a full dedicated video to this palette as well then. But again, here are the swatches for y'all to see today. The 4 special shades have a drier texture because they are more of a baked formula, and that very last shade has that scattering of like astral stardust kind of look. So I am obsessed with that shade in particular. Of course, I want to point out VR Sextra Terrestrial, which is the multi-chrome that goes from pink to green. And that pink and green combination is just a flower. It is the stem and the leaves and the blooming bloom of a flower. And so I actually consider this color to be more of a green shade than a pink shade, because on my monolids, when I stretch it all across my lid, more green shows than pink. I'll actually throw up a picture of a single shadow look I did using VR Sextra Terrestrial here so you can see what I'm talking about. Considering this color a green shade, the rest of the palette is just like a variety of different blooms. So we have this super really like rich yellow marigold color, very sunflowery, and then we have this bright magenta that can be like a carnation or a rose, and also this very soft peach. It's just like flowery to me, and I know that this is kind of dark to be flowery, but it's nice to have a little bit of a darker option, especially among all of my super like pastel picks and whatnot. This kind of peachy pink transition also is one that I go ham on in this spring season. Okay, already we're to our 5th pick, and you've already seen it. This is the ColourPop Sailor Moon collaboration Pretty Guardian palette, and mine's a little busted. She's been dropped a couple times. Here are all of the swatches of the ColourPop Sailor Moon Pretty Guardian eyeshadow palette, and really pretty, really pretty. The reason I'm including this is entirely for color story, not really for formula, because the formula for this palette in particular from ColourPop's line is a lot drier, a lot more crumbly. You can even see like how the bottom row broke. You can tell kind of the crumbly texture of these. And that's because like the bottom row in particular is incredibly bright, so it needs to be a little powdery for it to do its work. You also need to use these bottom shades on top of an eyeshadow primer. So that sounds like a bunch of work just to get some color payoff from this. So let's just ignore these for a second and look at the top 2 rows, and already that's just a light dreamy color story right there. This pink shade Mooncastle I've been using the heck out of. I don't know if you can even tell if there's a little dip going on in there. And when a dip is going on in any of my eyeshadows, that is a favorite. I have serious dips going on in this pink Moon Crystal, and also silver millennium here. Yes, big dips, big dips. I also know that Love is broken and therefore that's why it's so empty, but I also do use this shade a lot, as well as this lavender. Y'all know what it is. I did wear this palette in my anti-haul video, which I think was 2 videos ago, and I was wearing also like a Sailor Moon t-shirt, so I was really feeling Sailor Moon that day. So you can also take a look at that video if you want to see another look with this. And those are my 5 picks. I know that there are a lot of really pretty kind of spring color stories that exist outside of these palettes, but I don't own them and I don't have any intention of owning other palettes. One that comes to mind specifically for me is a Huda Beauty Retrograde palette. That one looks so delicious and I've literally been, you know, lusting after it, I guess, for a year, but in no reality am I going to spend the money, what is it, $65 for that palette, because I don't really need it. So it's always a fun exercise when you feel like you want to buy something to pull out something that you already know you love and then just remind yourself how much you love that stuff you already own. I know I got a little squeaky there, but that's just how much I believe that message. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me and for watching said video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Remember that y'all are my treasure. Find the beauty in every day, but most importantly, be kind to yourself. Ow! I literally broke my nail. Let's try that again. Find the beauty in every day, but most importantly, be kind to yourselves. I will see you in my next video. Bye!